Thank you very much for giving me the floor. At the outset, permit me to recognize the presence of the Vice President of the Dominican Republic and Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. May I thank the Dominican Republic and congratulate them for this opportunity to build a bridge between the two continents, Africa and the Americas. The delegation from Sierra Leone appreciates the hospitality accorded and thank Minister Collado and his team for making this happen. May I also commend the Secretary General and the team for transforming the tourism landscape and making it more inclusive and diverse. If I may reference the rapid recovery that tourism has made after COVID, and note that due to the ability of this sector to bounce back, it is indeed the strategy that is needed to accelerate progress on the SDGs in general. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the cultural connections between Africa and the Americas, particularly from the perspective of Sierra Leone, are deeply rooted in history and have shaped the identities and traditions of both continents. One of the most significant and tragic connections is the transatlantic slave trade, which brought millions of Africans to the Americas. Sierra Leone has a significant place in the history of the transatlantic slave trade. Many who were taken to the Americas came from the region that is now Sierra Leone. It is worth visiting Bonds Island and Rotumba Slave Fort to reconnect with your heritage. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the slave trade led to a profound cultural exchange as African traditions, languages, and customs blended with those indigenous people and European settlers created unique cultural expressions. The influence of African languages can be seen in Creole languages spoken in the Caribbean and parts of the Americas. In Sierra Leone, we have a unique form of the Creole language, which is known as Creole, and it is a widely spoken vernacular across the country. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, African rhythms and musical styles have had a lasting impact on the music of the Americas. Genres like jazz, blues, samba, reggae, hip-hop, and several others all have roots in African musical traditions. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, on religion and spirituality, African spiritual practices, including those from Sierra Leone, have influenced religious practices in the Americas, leading to the creation of syncretic religions. On cuisine, the culinary traditions of the Americans have also been enriched by African ingredients and cooking techniques. Several dishes are shared across the two continents. On language and literature again, African languages have influenced a lot of the Creole languages again in the Caribbean and parts of the Americas. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it would interest you that there's even a place named Freetown in Trinidad and Tobago, and we also have a Sierra Leone road in Diego Martin in Trinidad and Tobago. In arts and craft as well, African art forms, including those from Sierra Leone, have influenced artistic expressions in the Americans. And these include everything from textile patterns such as Gara tie-dye to sculpture and dance. I'm sure we're also aware of the Gula Geechee culture, that the Gula Geechee culture is still alive and has held several homecoming events since the 80s. Our president, Dr. Julius Maada Bio, in his current development plan, has put tourism as a critical enabler, and therefore several reforms are in progress. Some of these reforms have taken into consideration structural and policy shifts at national level to promote tourism and culture, as well as create a bridge between the two A's, Africa and the Americas, based on what we all share, the authenticity of our products. We have a new program titled Find My Roots in Sierra Leone, where African Americans will travel to Sierra Leone to reconnect with their past and culture. In Sierra Leone, we have the Tourism for All campaign, which is a year-long campaign and seeks to raise awareness and is modeled under the principle of leaving no one behind. Ramping up domestic tourism and unearthing our talent and preserving our culture remain at the center of this initiative. Sierra Leone is hosting the Women in Tourism Congress this October in Freetown, and we look forward to welcoming all of you to Sierra Leone to discuss critical issues that pertain to the majority of workforce in tourism, that is our women. This Congress will go beyond empowerment and address the barriers that women face in the tourism workforce. As the WITLAC is continental-based, I believe this would be another useful platform to deepen our engagement with the Americans. The Congress will also explore very deeply avenues to utilize virtual spaces and digital platforms to export experiences, open digital markets, and integrate cultures that have been apart for so long. Noting the importance of this summit and the promise it holds for integrating our cultures and promoting tourism, Sierra Leone offers to host the next African American Summit, which I believe will happen in 2026. May I conclude by expressing my thanks and appreciation to the government and people of the Dominican Republic and the UN Tourism for this opportunity to reunite with our family. Sierra Leone looks forward to this exciting journey of transformation and partnership in the tourism sector. I thank you all.
Gracias, Excelencia.